Good evening and welcome to be on the front page for the fall 2016 semester here at KU Community College. This is a show that is broadcast on Time Warner Communications, Verizon Fios, the Auburn Regional Media Access, ARMA, which we're going to be talking about tonight, as well as the college's radio station, WIN 89.1. I'm your host, Guy Cosentino. One of the ways that this show is broadcast every week, specifically on the weekends for both Time Warner Communications and Verizon Fios customers, is through the Auburn Regional Media Access. The ARMA, as we'll use that acronym all through the next half hour, that is based out of the Auburn Public Theater in downtown Auburn. ARMA, through its is more than just rebroadcasting college programming. Because of this, we wanted to invite members of the ARMA board into the studio to discuss the services they provide, as well as a project they're undertaking to build a studio. We have had both of these guests here in different capacities over the years. They are ARMA Board Vice Chair Steve Keeler, who also directs the college's telecom and media program here at the college, as well as their treasurer, Carrie Idell, who's also the executive director of the Auburn Public Theater. We had hoped to have Bob Pettenfeather, the chair of ARMA, here. He was unable to join us for today, but gentlemen, welcome.
Well, thank you, Guy.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
So it's great to have you, because I think people hear me every week twice say the words ARMA, and they tune in, but they may not know what they're tuning into. So for those who don't know what ARMA is, what is ARMA?
Well, ARMA stands for Auburn Regional Media Access, and what it basically is public access television in Auburn.
So what's your main function?
The main function is to allow residents of Auburn to create and to broadcast their own television programs.
So you are the city's access channel for all intents and purposes.
That's correct. ARMA runs channel 98 on Time Warner and channel 31 on Verizon, and it runs both of those channels as what we call public, educational, and governmental access,
So
which
what
is
is channel
called
12
which is called
then?
PEG. Channel 12
Which is only for
essentially-
Time Warner.
Right, which is only on Time Warner, essentially runs the same programming. And it's the historical public access
Rita
channel.
Valentino back to
Auburn Cable, Rita Valentino. That was the historical.
Marconi.
Yes, that was the historical public access
Okay,
channel.
all
And not
right.
quite as far back as Marconi,
But
and I don't think Rita would
not
enjoy
her,
that
not
reference.
her, but no, but I mean, it's been since day one.
Yes.
When cable came to KU County, it has always been Auburn Cable, and then iterations to what, Heron and
Adelphia.
Time Warner. Okay,
Exactly.
Do you also, and I guess this is more of a technical question, you have a relationship with the city that helped create ARMA, but Verizon Fios and Time Warner also service some of the towns and villages around. So Skinny Atlas gets this show on Tuesdays and Thursdays, Owasco. Do you provide services to those residents as well?
We do not. The agreement and the funding comes strictly through the city of Auburn and the residents of the city of Auburn who subscribe to either Time Warner or Verizon Fios. There is no agreement with the outlying towns that historically have been part of the system. So those residents cannot use the access channel to put programming on.
Oh, so you have to be a city resident
Yeah,
too.
you have to be a city resident.
Oh, okay.
And they also can't use the equipment that the Public Access Center provides.
And you have, we'll talk about equipment in a second, but I want to get just some basics out here. So do you have a contract? I mean, last week we had the double days here. Is there, and there's Auburn Community Baseball up until at least this week, has an agreement with the city. Is ARMA the contractor for the city of Auburn?
That's correct. Section 611 of the Communications Act allows a franchising authority, which in this case is the city of Auburn, to set up a public access, one or more public access channels, and to turn over the operation of those channels to a third party. So ARMA is the third party. ARMA is a nonprofit corporation. It's the third party that has been given the authority by the city of Auburn, which is the franchisor of the cable services in Auburn. The city of Auburn gets to determine what companies can provide cable service in the city of Auburn. So the city has determined that they want public access and a public access center, and the third party that runs it is ARMA.
And this took a while for you to get to the ARMA, to get to ARMA. For many years, you served on a board
Right.
or an advisory role to the city. I want to say 3 city managers ago. Well, maybe now it's 4 or 5 at the rate we're going. But several city managers ago, I think it was John Salamone and Mark Palish and others
Yep.
had you work with the city and the city's attorneys, who were not necessarily the city's attorneys, but they had outsourced that work to, I think it was Bonchett and King or one of the firms, to really try to get Time Warner, then Verizon, on board to create public access.
Yeah, it's, I think if you look at the history of public access in Auburn, you know, what you find is that the cable system originally was owned by the Osborne family, and it was what we call a mom and pop cable company. They owned one cable company and in a local municipality and no others. And they ran it well for many years. And they had a general manager, many people may remember her, Rita Valentino. She was the host of this show prior
Going for
to
her
you.
record.
Yeah, prior to you. And she did, I think, a very good job of providing the community with a platform for learning about community issues and for hearing from community leaders for many, many, many years. And they provided a public access channel. They didn't have to. I don't think it was in their franchise agreement. And people could put programs on, but there was not a public access center where residents could produce programs. So in the late 90s, early 2000s, the Osborne family sold the cable company to Heron Cable. Heron was a multiple system operator. They were buying up systems in upstate New York. They got themselves up to about a quarter million subscribers throughout upstate New York, and they got swallowed by a bigger fish, Adelphia Cable. And Adelphia Cable was one of the largest operators in the country. However, as many people know the story, the family that owned Adelphia Cable embezzled over $1 billion from the company. The family members went to
These
jail.
are the umbrella light stand people, correct?
Maybe.
Okay. Well, some really interesting
the Regas
parties.
family. The Regas
Okay.
family. 3 of the family members are now serving long prison sentences, and they went bankrupt. Adelphia was then sold
Which, by the way,
off.
every cable subscriber in America was like, okay.
Yeah. They went bankrupt, and the company was sold off in pieces to other large cable companies. Auburn Cable, the Auburn Cable part of Adelphia went to Time Warner. Now, while this was all going on, from the transition from Heron to Adelphia to Time Warner, the franchise agreement that the city had with the cable operator expired, and the city entered into negotiations for a new franchise agreement, first with Heron, then with Adelphia, then with Time Warner. Now, franchise agreements essentially is what a city uses to say, this is going to be our cable operator in this city, and these are the conditions under which they may operate a cable system, and these are the kinds of things we want from our cable system. We want good emergency services. We want free cable and communication provided to the fire department and the police department. We want fiber optics to be in the city to provide the highest quality signal. We want good internet access, and we want it cheap. We want
Which, by the way, the Osbornes were starting to do
Right.
ahead of schedule in the early 90s,
Exactly.
before Heron and Adelphia even came on board.
Exactly. So every 10 years, the franchise agreement, at least in New York State, they have to be renegotiated. So because there were so many changes in ownership, what the city decided to do was hire an outside consultant and get some local residents to serve on a cable commission to help advise the outside consultants. One of the things the consultants said was, you have an opportunity here to have real public access and a public access center, and they made a strong recommendation to the commission and to the city that be started. At the same time, we had a couple of different city managers, I think John Salamone and Mark Palish, who had come from cities with very active cable access centers. So they supported that. And we had John Rossi involved, who was the city attorney at the time.
Still is.
Who was a very, very able negotiator with eventually what turned out to be Time Warner.
And how long is the current agreement in place till?
I think this agreement runs out in maybe another 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And is your ARMA agreement with the city concurrent with that?
Yes.
Okay. So a couple of just to your board questions, and then I want to come back to the access issue. You're a not-for-profit board.
Right.
How large is your board?
We have 8 members, I think, at this time.
And who appoints you? Are you self-appointing?
We are a self-appointing board.
'Cause
What happened was the Auburn Cable Commission transitioned into the ARMA board.
So Bob Pettenfeather, who was the chairman
Of the Cable Commission, became the chairman of the ARMA board.
Okay. What type of budget do you have?
It's
I look to you because you're the treasurer.
it's $35,000 a year,
Okay.
and basically what happens is that on everyone's cable bill in Auburn, there's a couple of cents, and that was what the negotiation was about.
And it took a while to negotiate that in.
It took 10 years.
10
I
years.
mean, there was a lot of resistance. When Verizon came in with FiOS, it kind of jump-started the process because they were the first one to jump on board, and so Time Warner said, hey, we better get our act together because...
And is that where you mainly get, is that where all of your money comes, or do you sell other services as well?
No, it's we're a relatively new organization in terms of operating. It's been a couple of years, but the 35,000 is fixed. I mean, unless there was another negotiation with the cable companies to up the pass-through. And what I mean by pass-through is when you see it on your cable bill, it's a couple of cents, and you probably don't even notice it. That goes kind of through the city to us. So there's really no taxpayer money that supports ARMA.
It's a user fee.
It's a user fee. So I think that's important. It doesn't come out of anyone's pocket in terms of taxes, and it doesn't come out of any other budgetary allocation from the city.
So does the 35,000 that you generate, does it go to equipment? Does it go to staff?
Well, at first, in the first year, there was a little bit of extra money where we were able to purchase our equipment with. But on an ongoing basis, the money that we get through the pass-through is mostly for salaries. We have a staff of 2. It's for the facility and the upkeep of the facility. And then if we have anything left over, it's usually for some marketing to let people know who we are. And we're now just starting to get into fundraising. It also took a long time. David Thurston was also very helpful to us. He was on our board, and he acted as the attorney as John's responsibilities got more to the city. David came on board and helped us get our non-for-profit status, which took an inordinately long amount of time. There was something that was happening, I think, with charities at that time, maybe religious organizations, so everything was backed up. And it took almost 2 years from the time that we applied to where we got our status as nonprofit.
So you're not for profit right now, and I know we're going to pop up, maybe now's a good time. You are starting this fundraising phase of sorts to do what?
Oh, if we could ask the control room to put up the slide of the do-it-yourself studio.
Okay.
I think that would help. This will be our first big fundraising effort, and that's to build a studio in the ARMA facility that would allow anybody who wants to do some type of television program to be able to come in and do it very easily on their own.
So what will
with little or no help.
So what exactly would you be purchasing? How much are you trying to raise?
We're trying
About
to raise
15.
About $15,000. What we'll do is we will build a studio space with walls. Soundproof it. It'll have a control station where a local access producer can sit and face the camera and talk, or can have a guest and talk. It'll also have a seating area where an access producer could do a talk show like this with more than 2 people. It'll have a green screen where someone could do some type of report, sports report, local news report. It'll be outfitted with cameras, microphones, and a few television monitors. But it'll be we call it the DIY studio, the do-it-yourself studio. And anyone really can be trained within a very short period of time to come in and do their own show.
Mm-hmm.
So you're trying to raise $15,000. How long do you think it'll take? How can people donate? Because this is not something that you're going to pay through their franchise fees. Am I
Well,
correct?
we were going to ask
Some
you
of
for
it.
some money today.
Right. Yeah.
No. You know, we're just embarking on this fundraising campaign, and we would do it. Just putting it together now. We will probably go out to some giving organizations, some foundations, and other entities that would support capital expenses and improvement. And then in addition, we would have a community element where we would go out to the community to ask for donations to fund this. I think I want to also just, and I guess I want a clarification from Steve as well. In addition to making your own television show, I believe that any resident of Auburn, if they have a pre-packaged show that they've made somewhere else, or even if it's an educational, you know, piece of material or something, they can submit it.
Right. So I wanted to
That
go
is
through
correct,
that.
yes.
So you're not like Netflix or HBO. You're not generating your own programming.
Right. We do not
No.
generate our own program.
Okay.
It has to come from the public, from an educational institution, or from a governmental entity.
So, for
That's why it's
example-
called PEG access, Public Education Government.
So, for example, Ormy King
Yep.
tapes his sports show here up at
Right.
the college, up in the library.
Right.
Drops off the discs in the mailbox in the front next to
Right.
Dennis Sedor's office.
Yep.
Would be the old entrance to the old Grants building.
Right.
Right there, correct?
Correct.
And then he does that. Steve Gage has these, and I'm not saying
Porch
them
Talk.
right.
Porch Talk.
I was
Porch
going to
Talk,
say
yep.
community minutes, but they're the Porch Talk. So that's something that they do on their own. They put it on there. You don't pay a fee for that.
Right.
They don't pay you for that.
Right.
So and then obviously these shows get dropped off either Tuesday or Thursday night, and they're played on the weekend.
Right.
By the way, a quick question on this because we got it from the last guest here. Why doesn't this show on Tuesdays and Thursdays go out to Verizon FiOS customer?
Because this show actually plays back here at the college,
Okay.
and the college has access to Channel 12.
Okay.
And the college does not have a connection to Verizon.
Does not. Okay. So do you have any idea how much programming you put out on the air in a given year?
Well, let me put it this way. There's about 4 hours of programming per night that airs on Saturdays and Sundays. There's about 11 hours of programming.
So everything from
From
Ormy
these,
King,
Ormy King,
Steve Gage, these shows, City Council, School Board,
School
and
Board,
County.
the county meetings, and then some other shows that come in. We have some shows that come in from some local churches. We have some special shows like the folks at the Owasco Lake Watershed Association sent us something, and that's airing this week. We pick up a show called Democracy Now. That's about some issues facing the country in terms of democracy. And then some of the college sports productions, some high school sports productions. College's commencement will be on there.
City council meetings.
The Maroon Morning Madness is on there. From the high school. So it's about about 40 hours of programming
A week.
a
Okay. And do you pick and choose what goes on? Does everything go on?
The rule is the cable company or the entity that's chosen to operate the public access facility cannot, by law, exercise any control over the content, as long as it's being submitted by an educational institution within the franchise area, a governmental organization within the franchise area, or a member of the public who is a resident of the franchise area. We have to play it with one exception, and I will read you that exception. It says, cable operators may not control the content of programming on public access channels, with the exception that the cable operator may refuse to transmit a public access program or portion of the program which the cable operator reasonably believes contains obscenity.
Okay.
Other than that, we may not exercise any editorial control over public access
right
programming.
now-
That's the law.
Okay, so because I know Time Warner and its predecessors was always getting criticism because there were certain things that some would contend were racist in nature, which I'm not sure falls into that. It doesn't fall under the obscenity
Right.
rules. So you don't pick and choose. Do you get many discs that are dropped off?
That are in that vote.
No,
that would be controversial in some way?
the public drops off.
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain
pretty
number.
much everything.
They all drop them up. And I
Well, no,
think
I'm saying eliminating government, public education institution.
education.
If you eliminate those two, that other third slice, do you get a lot of individuals who drop things off?
well,
We're getting some, and it's increasing.
we're getting some.
And with the studio, you think that number will
We think
Well,
jump?
it'll
that's the
increase
whole
greatly,
point.
yeah.
I mean, I think that society is changing, and everyone can take out their phone and make a movie, and everything is about video. And I think that what the board of ARMA recognized is that in order to get more community engagement, we had to start to evolve so that it was easy for people to come in and do their own thing. And I think specifically young people. If you're a high school student or someone at the college here and you want to make your own television show or have your own talk show, you can come in and do it by yourself, or you can do it with a friend. It's free. You get to put it on television, and it's an amazing resource.
Are there any scheduling or length limitations in the sense that can somebody say, "Oh, I always wanted it at 6 o'clock on"?
They can request it.
They can
I
request
think.
it,
Okay.
And I
yes.
think that each show. What are the rules? See, they're on twice at least.
Yeah, we'll put them on at least twice. They
At
can
least
request
twice.
time slots, but it's first come, first served.
And how about length? Can somebody put on? There's been those films that go 7 hours.
Yeah.
In theory, sure.
Okay. We might show at 2 o'clock in the morning, but
Right.
it's.
Yeah. No one might watch it, but they can put it on.
So two items that you brought up really are quick on. This operation is based at the Auburn Public Theater.
Right.
You do instructional. So let's talk about
We do.
instructional first. What do you provide on an instructional
Well,
basis?
we have cameras and we have editing equipment, and we run periodic workshops for the public if they would like to, borrow one
have
of
a
our
studio
cameras.
there then
We do
already?
not really have a studio.
Do you have a
we-
work area?
We have a work area. We have a control room for broadcasting the programming, and we have a small work area where we can do instruction. There is not at this time really a studio, but we do have cameras. People can sign out for free. We have editing equipment in there that people can use for free.
And do you have to be a city resident?
You have to be a city resident. Our only requirement is that you be a city resident, because it's city residents who pay for the service through their cable or FiOS bills, and that you undergo the training so that we're confident you know how to use the equipment.
And are there any deposits?
No, we don't require a deposit.
Have you gotten all your equipment back
Yeah,
that you've
yeah,
loaned?
we've not had any.
We've
problem.
not had any.
So this
any
is all
issue.
for public use, and so what type of equipment do you have to loan out?
We have cameras and we have editing equipment,
And there's no charge for any of that?
No.
and we encourage people to use it. I mean, that's what it's there for. It's there for members of the public to use to produce public access programming.
I mean, the public is paying for it, and it's for their use.
So I'd like to go back to the studio, if they don't mind putting back up on the screen. This studio that you're trying to raise money, you're trying to raise $15,000 for it. When is I guess this is your public phase now. Where can people make contributions? Is there a limit to what they can do? If somebody wants to underwrite all $15,000, you'll take it, but you'll take checks for $10, I'm assuming.
Right.
We'll take checks, and I think the information and Steve will show this slide. We have a website.
Right. If we could see the website slide, I think that would be helpful, because the website has all our contact information. It has the address. On the website, you can find out the week's programming. You can find out how to be an access producer. You can see what the policies are to get a program on. You can see when the instructional workshops are to use the equipment. And if you'd like to make a donation,
Well,
the address is there.
The address is there, but I think that.
And these are tax deductible, because
These
you do have your 501c3.
Well, I think you need to check with your tax professional,
Okay.
and to whatever the fullest extent of the law, you can deduct that because we're nonprofit. And I think this is our first public announcement that we're raising money. So within the next week or two, you will see a proper form on the website so that people can download it and just send it in.
And
with
are
a
there
check.
naming opportunities for people if they want to buy a piece of equipment for this and they can get their name on there?
Well, the studio itself, I mean, I think when you're fundraising, you need to be open to all of that. and I think we are. I think that we're so new in terms of this phase of ARMA, because I think Bob Pennefeather's agenda, which was very solid, was to get our feet solidly on the ground with what we do. And it's taken about a year and a half to understand the equipment, because I don't know if people remember, but you used to drop off your tapes on Owasco Street.
Well, that's what I was talking about where there was the controversy, where things were dropped off up there,
Right.
and who, what was being put
Exactly,
put out.
and now they're dropping them off here. We had, we worked out all the connections.
Is it tapes or CDs?
It's both.
Oh, okay.
But 8-track, you can't do 8-track anymore. And now people are going to be starting to drop off just a flash drive,
Right.
because it's becoming digital. And sometimes you can actually upload it to Dropbox or something, an online storage, and
Are
we
you
can,
there yet
we
for
can
that?
access that.
Oh, you are?
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, well, yes, absolutely.
And so people can contact ARMA through the website,
Right.
leave messages if they have technical questions, but if they also want to donate money, they can do it that
Yes.
route as well.
Yes.
And your hope is to raise the $15,000 by when?
Well, I would say within the next 6 months.
So you'd like to be online sometime in the summer or fall of next
Well,
year?
we'd have to build it once we get the money, and I think but I think 6 to 9 months is a reasonable time to assume that everything would be done.
Can I ask you to switch hats for a second?
Yeah.
Why is the APT, you're the executive director,
Yeah.
why the APT being the site of ARMA?
Well, first of all, the APT building is in the old Grants Department store, and it's 26,000 square feet. And as you know, we've developed the ground level floor to have all of our spaces. But when we started to get into the lower level, and it's where Grants was, and then I think it was Cagney's nightclub and Club 21.
It's where the posters and the turtles and
and
everything
the turtle,
fun
yes,
is downstairs.
everything. I think I found a turtle. But as we started to open that up, there was a section downstairs that was perfect for ARMA. And it kind of fits our mission as an arts organization and as a community organization to host them. So they're in that section that is large enough to house this studio. But right now what we did was we built this control room, which is about 12 by 12. Maybe a little less down there, and it's a soundproof little room where we do all of the training and all of the broadcasting from. And so, we just felt it was part of our mission, and it's part of the arts. It's part, filmmaking. We have a cinema upstairs, so it seemed to be simpatico.
Yeah, I think as a board, we were very committed early on to having a downtown location for ARMA. Someplace people could walk to, but also a place where people could, park easily. And the parking garage is right behind the building.
Public transportation.
And there's public
Oh, it's a great
transportation
site.
available.
Yeah.
And that was really the most viable space
But it's not a
for
great
us.
money maker.
Oh, no. It's not. That's not what
What
it's
I'm saying is
no,
a
no.
public service. So why would APT? You saw this as part of your public mission.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's where I was
and
going
we
with
are a
this.
nonprofit as well. And I also want to say that one of the nice things about On Public Theater is that we have made the space available upstairs to anyone who is unable to go downstairs.
For an accessibility.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Our guests have been Steve Keeler, who is the Vice Chair of the Auburn Regional Media Access, as well as their Treasurer, Carrie Idell, who also is the Executive Director of the Auburn Public Theater, to come on to talk about the Auburn Regional Media Access and their new fundraising effort to raise $15,000 for a new editing studio at the Auburn Public Theater in downtown Auburn. We encourage you to go to their website, which will most likely pop up as we're talking, so that you can learn more about that. We'll be back on Tuesday with a normal set of, two Inside Government shows. The first one with Jeff Digert, the new city manager, and Mayor Michael D. Quill. The other will have Auburn Superintendent of Schools Jeffrey Parazola to give us a district update. On Thursday, we saw our series of candidate forums in the studio. We'll be here with the candidates for the 51st Senate District, that is part of Southern Cuyahoga County, with Senator James Seward, who is the incumbent, and his Democratic challenger, Jermaine Bagnell Graham. And next Thursday, we'll have the 54th Senate District Forum to replace retiring Senator Michael F. Nozzolio. Democrat Keenan Beldridge has agreed to appear, as has Floyd Rayburn, who is still on the ballot. on the Reform Party line after losing the Republican primary to Pamela Helming. At this point, Republican Helming has declined to participate due to scheduling issues, but both candidates will be here for the 54th, and then we'll close off the forums on Tuesday, November 1st with a rematch of sorts for the 126th Assembly District, forum facing Assemblyman Gary D. Finch and challenger Diane Dwyer. Before we go, though, we would like to let you know that you can send us your ideas for guests or questions to both Inside Government and Beyond the Front Page at cozguytho@aol.com or Inside Government, 141 Dunning Avenue, Auburn, New York, 13021. Those are questions for the shows Inside Government and Beyond the Front Page. For the forums, those are all Jeremy Boyer of The Citizen. He'll come up with those questions over the next 3 weeks. I'm Guy Cosentino for QU Community College. I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank both of our guests for coming on. If you'll give us an update in about 6 months of where you are on the fundraising, we'd love to have you. And in fact, Steve Keeler will be here in a couple of weeks with an update on telecom here in the studio. I'm Guy Cosentino. We hope you have a good night and have a great tomorrow.